what we talked in the previous session. Okay, where we really discussed few things related to macro and furthermore things which can hamper the complete data structures. Okay, involved in the whole process. In today's session, we'll add more briefings related to what exactly the kind of role the linker and loader is going to play. Now, you must have seen whenever we write any program, if a program is a compiler, then or even an assembler, then as an output, by following a particular process, ultimately, it reaches to something called as object code. So though compiler's output is not object code, compiler's output is assembly code, which in turn is given to your assembler, and then further it goes by creating an object code. This object code needs to be connected with different object codes available at all, which are either user created or which are available from library. What are the library? Like for example, you must have seen those who worked with math library say for a while. So you have to always write GCC-LM, correct? While you are trying to rather say compile a code. Okay, so like we write -lm, like while we try to link some function. Say for example, let me check this. Okay, so I will write a function. Okay, let me share the screen with you. Okay, is my screen visible? Okay, so let us take this code and let us try to translate this. Sorry. Now, if we see, we are getting some kind of error like this, correct? So if I see or warning rather, so I will see, I will be able to see that are we getting some output. But if I really go into that USR, let me go to sudo -s, then less/usr/include/math.h. Okay, now this particular header file contains multiple mathematical functions which can be used by the library. And sometimes your function may not work at all with respect to probably the values that you may use. Say for example, 240, 423. So let me take this as double. How you write it here? Okay, let us try. Now you will see, like while I gave integer, it worked very well. But when I say this, ultimately, when I passed this, when only small integers were there, it worked very well. Correct? It was not giving me any error by saying this. Okay, by working with this. Correct. But when I changed it, ultimately it says this. So if I write now dash lm, okay, now you will see that it is not showing me any error there. Correct. So if I execute this, it would be showing me the output. But I wrote here this dash lm because I tried linking the external library, which is math library. So this lm dash lm tells that linker in turn that okay, it is going to generate this library. Suppose if I don't use this and if I write only simply dash c, so it will not give me any error. That's what earlier case was. But when I remove this dash c and if I try to generate the executable, then it says undefined reference to power. Correct. Now similarly, suppose if I do this as int 24 and let us say take 4 and d. Fine. Let us try. Now are we getting any error? So if I execute this, it is showing me the output. Correct. But when I suddenly change this, say for example, if I say double and let us say if I write this. Okay, so like I'm trying to print this other double value. Fine. So if I execute now, it is going to show me the output. But when my values are increased, then what? Now I am getting an error. Correct. That means what? For the value which can be fitted with the integer perspective, it is really handling that on some part. But whenever it is going beyond some limits, it says yes, you cannot. Correct. And that's what I was referring to a library. Now same thing possibly could be there when you have two different object codes altogether added. Correct. That means what? Suppose you have one file which contains main. Second file contains a function A which was called in your first file. Correct. That means what? Both the things should be linked together. Otherwise it will give us you an undefined symbol A available, function A available. Correct. That's what it would be displaying you. We got that kind of error earlier too. So if it is going to give us that kind of error, if I don't want that error to be there, then at the time of linking, the care should be properly taken. Now, what exactly the kind of role these linkers are going to play? So what exactly they do is, see, like when I said my first function, let me open, say, yeah. Now suppose this is my first function. Okay, let me deal with this like this. Suppose this is my first function. Okay, now this is containing main somewhere. Suppose main is here, correct, at this block, and there's a call to a function called a, and that a function is somewhere here. Okay, somewhere available in the library, or we know the path of the object code exactly. Correct, and this is a actual. This is a call. This is the definition. Now what happens is we already saw that this control should be given here and this should be passed back here. Return value should be there. Now in this case for A, like when it builds the symbol table, say for example what I was discussing about. So suppose if I write dash C, like when we said this and we tried generating the same thing with LM. Okay, it worked well. So if I write dot slash error out, it is showing me the output. But if I don't write LM, then what? So if I write dash C, Okay, and if I try to display with nm the output, okay, of my fun.o, you will see that that power function is undefined, though we added there the library, because the way that we are using this printf, for example, it also was shown as printf. Now, while we write GCC, at the time it is always assumed that your standard libraries are always added. Standard libraries which are containing these functions like printf, scanf, write, read, fopen. All these common functions would be always there in the standard library, which is assumed that this standard library is always added whenever you are trying to generate an executable with GCC. But what if that library, that standard library doesn't contain a function which you are referring to? Then in that case, that function should be combined. So for it, this POW is an abstract name. Printf is an abstract name. This also probably can be an abstract name for it. Now what linker does, it binds the abstract name with the exact concrete name. And this permits you to make use of as many abstract names inside your code. And automatically they would be binded with the actual definitions which could be probably found in your respective libraries that you are adding while at the time of generating an executable file, which would be a linked file. So whenever you are writing this, say for example, if you write this and if you try to check file a dot out, it says LSB shared object and dynamically linked. So this part comes here, dynamically linked, because it linked this function because you wrote this dash lm, and at runtime that library function would be getting executed. So we need to find out then meaning of what exactly this is then dynamically is. So when it is dynamically, that does that mean static as also possibly there? Probably yes. Then can I get a static library at all created? A static library created. Correct. Now how can we get that? If at all I have to generate a static library, read this AR. Okay, please go through this for a while till the time I write the code for you. What this AR does, this is a command which is used to create, modify and extract files from the archive. Now when I say archive, what exactly that means? You are trying to create a kind of library. Which is a static kind of library, static. Now if at all I want a dynamic library, then I also can do that. We definitely would be seeing that part in our next rather next week, like how exactly I can create a static library and dynamic library. But till that time, until we see that, we need to find out then what is the difference between these two. Like let me tell you, like what is this archive static library means then? Can somebody tell me? Yes, please. Whenever you link a static library at the time of generating an executable. Now, when I say this, ultimately I am talking about static linking too, because linker is to be used. So whenever you are trying to generate an executable using these static libraries, or probably by making use of static linking, then output is what? Copy of all library functions would be added to the executable file. That means what? In the one of the session, like I told you, like suppose these are your three files, three lines first, these three lines, then you are going to copy this here, and then remaining thing you are going to copy. Right. So when I write nm for a dot out here, for example, nm a dot out, It tells me majority of function names, but again still some library functions are having a definition called U, undefined, because they are dynamically linked, and that is the reason why we do see that part. So you can see that this printf and power function are part of this libc library. You can search on Google what is libc. Correct? Libc library. Libc library is one of the important library from the libraries available with GNU, GCC, GNU compiler collection. Correct? So which rather provides you multiple functions which can help you or as a programmer to work with the standard library. This is the standard libraries. Libc is a standard library. GNU's libc. That's what it say. glibc. Okay, then like if at all it is to be done this way, then what should I do? What exactly this binding means? So we already saw like before, rather when I write, say for example, let me go to my code, my fun. Okay, let us edit that code. So which is available here. So let me write here integer j equal to 10, integer k. Fine. Let us write this dash c first. Okay, let us list the symbols. I can see that there is j, there is k. Correct. So when I wrote this definition, I wrote integer k. This looks to be a constant. This integer j looks to be varying. Correct. So like in this case, it is shown to me that it is belonging to this. So if I use this size command available with Linux, what size does? We already saw it displays you section sizes. So if I write size myfun.o, I can see that this thing is added there. Data contains 4, BSS is there, and so on. Correct. Now, when I do talk about these sections, what happens if at all I try to say generate this dash M32, say for a while, then let me write this. So I got this as a size. So you can see that when I wrote dash M32, it was changed. So earlier when I wrote this, dash M32 was not used. That means it was 64-bit code. When I converted it to 32-bit, suddenly my text size also got increased. My the size in decimal of total also got increased. Earlier it was 207. Now I can see that it is 273. Because you are talking about backward compatibility. The current version that you are having, or the compiler I do have is a 64-bit compiler with on the 64-bit machine. But what if I have to generate a 32-bit code on my machine? What should I do in that case then? Correct? How exactly we are going to add these things ultimately? So if at all, similarly, if I go with, say for example, removing this and simply write dash M32. Now we have to write dash LM2 because otherwise that error would be remain. Okay, so if I write now nm a dot out, let us see. See, it added this into BSS, which was said to be a constant. It was not knowing about it. So this is said to be BSS. This is said to be data section J and K. And I would not be shown here because it is part of stack. It is a local variable. I would not be shown here. You can see that I is nowhere I is shown from the code that we had. Our code had how many variables? only three, I, J and K. I is a local variable, J and K are global, but both of them are having difference there. J seems to be an initialized, K doesn't seem to be initialized. So when it is not initialized, it is shown as B. So let me make the change. Let me say 90. Let me save this. Let me go back. Let me generate this. Now let us see what is shown for K, J and K. Now your J and K would be in data section because they are defined. And suddenly like other your other things are not defined, not added properly there because they are U. So these are the kind of addresses that might have been generated for your code. Okay, in the symbol table. Similarly, if I go with readelf dash s a dot out, this is my symbol table. So it gives me address here for K, for J, and so many internal things are added there, which are added because of my standard libc. Standard libc, you can see that it is referring here libc library functions. It is referring to those functions. Even it tells you, okay, I'm referring this function from libc. This function also would be from libc, but it would be linked at runtime because they are dynamical. Everything which is written as UND now would be connected at runtime. Till that time, they would not be identified, and that's why it says undefined. Everything which is not UND is defined properly or available in your object code or executable code. So similarly, if I write file a.out, I can see dynamically linked. But if I do the same thing for my code, it doesn't say something like dynamically linked. It only adds relocatable. So this is another term that you might have heard into your OS course probably in your bachelor's. What is relocation? What is relocation? Yes, please. What is relocation? Anybody? Can anybody help me? Can you hear me? Are you there? Okay, so only one is there. Devesh is always there. Yes. What is relocation? Have you heard this term relocation?
Yes, sir, but can't recall right.
Okay, suppose let us take an example. You are now static, staying at home, correct? You have a static address. Is it changing every day? No. Correct. Your static address would be like whatever your house number and so on. Now suppose you are told from day after college would be starting, all lectures would be offline. But there would be restriction. Every alternate day you need to be in the department. So now what can happen is either you would be coming to Pune, going back to your house, correct? Your home rather. Other way around is what? You are coming here, staying here only. Two things, correct? The person probably who is from Shirur may really think of this like it would be better if he doesn't stay here and if he follows the mechanism like coming every day and going back to house every day. But it may not be good for the person who is staying, who is not near from the nearby cities. So he will remain here in memory always. Others are will come, execute, will go back. So like if you say, no, I'm going to attend all my classes online only. Suppose if department decides tomorrow, everyone should be in the department from tomorrow onwards. Correct? What would be your reaction? You will say yes or you will say no. If you say yes, then you need to be here. If you say no, then you have to give reason. So you will say what? Okay, I want to attend all classes online, even if you are taking offline, because I don't want to trouble my family by being there in person. Now, when you say this, ultimately, then I have to make modifications in the execution structure, like some of the students would be here offline. Same lecture would be delivered online to that other parties who are not attending that session physically. That way, the peoples who came here are relocatable. They can relocate themselves, adjust themselves accordingly, whatever the place that is given. And you, if you say, I don't want to be there, then you are non-relocatable. So technically, you may have different term words used to really define what exactly you mean by relocation and non-relocation. Correct? Now, considering this, now can you tell me what exactly this relocatable means? I gave you an example. Or what do you see over here? 32-bit relocatable. What exactly that means? So if I go with say kind of dictionary definition, it says what? Constructed so as to be movable. What is relocatable? Constructed so as to be movable, portable, prefabricated or modular. Correct. Then like if at all we talk about relocatable program, then how it would be? A program that can be located in different parts of memory at different times. Now, how much memory I may have? How much memory I may have? Like it shows me the complete structure of memory. Okay, so let me go with DU. Yeah, let me go with DU. It is telling me how much space was taken by each and every program in memory. Correct? The command that I fired. Similarly, like what a command I fired here, DU. So what is DU? It estimates file space usage. And if I write DF, report the file system disk space usage. So this would be the memory available, which is a permanent storage for you. System disk space. But how can I see how much memory space was taken? Say, for example, what I do is like whenever I'm working with Windows kind of operating system, I do have some mechanisms to show how exactly or how much space or how much memory is exactly taken by your code. Say, for example, suppose if I press Control Alt Delete and if I go to Task Manager, it tells me how much memory is taken by my code. Correct? It shows me this, the amount of memory for each of my code that is available across. So this much like this program takes 813.2 MB or whatever. So depending upon the request sent, the memory requirement will be changing. So sometimes like if there is no action done, so ultimately you will see memory is lesser and suddenly it is increasing. This give and take is going on, correct? On that other side. So like if this Microsoft Teams program says that, okay, I would be always, if I have address to be at 32, then only I will load myself. Otherwise, I will not permit you loading. Can that program say this? If it is saying that way, then ultimately we are assuming that that program is not relocatable. If it cannot load it with the location that is given, non-relocatable. So every object file that you create with GCC would be a relocatable file. Okay, and the same thing would not be shown now when I combine more than one object code, is it showing me that resulting a dot out also is an object sorry relocatable? No, it says what? It says shared object. That means it is a shared code. It is created using shared code and it is dynamically linked. Dynamically linked. That means at runtime, size might be different. Correct. Now, generally, whenever we do talk about size aspect, we do see how much space is taken in memory. So it says 15,628 bytes. 15,628 bytes. But will it require similar amount of bytes in memory? We are not sure about. How can we estimate that? Will we be able to see that? So if I go to man PS, okay, so try to find out how exactly, like homework for you. I can tell that, but I want to find out how to display the kind of UI that I showed you, like to where I could see that some particular process requires this much amount of memory. How can I get it? So if I write simply PS dash, say for example A, will I be able to get memory? No. So if I write PS dash stat, okay, sorry, PS, it was, okay, it would better like if you try to search it, okay, until like before I give it. Okay, another thing probably could be like you can search with this too. It gives you scheduler information. Okay, dash L. Correct. What would be the states and so on. That information would be shown to you. Which program is given priority and how it is getting executed and what is the status of the code, status of the program. Like when it executed, this wasn't running, but rest of them were in sleeping stage. Because we wrote an ampersand there with gedit. Correct. So if I say fg, so my code is active. Suppose if I say, suppose I remove this and if I write control C, control R, gedit. Sorry, I haven't removed this. I should have removed that ampersand. Now if I write this, now you will see that my terminal is not permitting me to write further because this code is under execution now. Now what is happening? Like I need to open another terminal because this was given a priority. So if I go and press Control N, Control Shift N, and if I write now PS dash A, or let us write PS dash L probably. It tells me like this was for this terminal, the current terminal. So if I write AL, then you can see like where exactly my gedit was. This gedit was sleeping mode because it is not working. Even the bash, which was supposed to handle this, is not responding. Where is my bash? PTS 0. So let us try to see where exactly this PTS 0 is. Our bash would be somewhere, correct? Which is not exactly, I may not be able to find this directly the way it was supposed to be. So if I write AJH, now see this one. This gedit and bash, both of them in sleep mode. Nothing, no response is there. I cannot do anything. But here I do see PS to be in the running state for my code. Correct. But then how exactly I can get information about the memory it occupied? Okay, so try to find out how exactly one can display the amount of memory taken. Is it similar to what generally you see when you write ls-l for your code? Correct. So we had other terminal for that purpose. So when I say ls-l, for my code rather. So if you may see that I terminated that code with a signal. So if I go back and write this, only bash is shown. That other command was terminated. But again, it is sleep mode. This also, though it is in active mode, but it doesn't say that I'm in active mode. So when I start typing here, will I be able to see that again? No, I cannot get, because I need to find out that kind of tool is not available. So can I get that kind of information available directly there? Correct? So like I'm giving you one link. Let me first find out that macros. So for your help, I'm giving you one link. Okay, see the chat window. So those having Windows installed on your laptops. 1 minute. So it is showing something. You can download that from the link shown there. Correct? Or you can take this one also. Whatever. This is the link. Both of them are same. Fine. So let me show you how it works. So even like yeah, you can search Google sys internals tool list. There's a website added by it, sys internals. So these are the different utilities available with it. The way that I tried showing you few utilities on Linux. Similarly, if you go to this site, you would be seeing different different utilities which are added. Like for example, if there are threads and how exactly the things can be seen. Even a process monitor, system monitor. So some of you can work with your MSc projects probably in the next semester where you would try to implement or simulate some kind of utility like this. So let me install this so that I can show you that part. Okay, so let us say Procmon. So downloads. So let us go to downloads and let me execute this. Now see, you would be seeing this kind of utility there, correct? Now let me start, say for example, making changes in this file. So let us go with PID. Okay. See, I cannot increase the font size by the way from here. Okay, so this is to be verified by like to be tested from your end too, because I may not be able to show. Sorry, what I say is I may not be able to show you rather the size to be improved. But this is really one kind of utility that you can think of. So for example, if I go with this 164A. Okay, so it tells you like what exactly the file, what exactly it was supposed to. If you want a process tree shown, then this is a process tree with the way I showed you on Windows Linux, ps-ejh. Okay, similar kind of process tree can be seen here. So like you have these processes running, and this is a graphical utility, IDE kind of utility that it created. So say for example, my PowerPoint is running here, correct? So that suppose this is my PowerPoint running. So if I see this process monitor, it shows me this. It talks about everything. Like if I try to click on it, Let us see what it does. If I double click this, you can visualize multiple things for this particular file. So you say, okay, let it respond. It is not responding to me. Okay, because some task is going on my machine. Okay, so like till that time. So these are the different utilities that you can make use of. So sysinternals is a toolbox completely managed by Microsoft. So like if you see, these are the services which your operating system supports, correct? File and disk, networking, process, security system. Like in your first lesson, first session of operating system course, you might have been told like what are the different services provided by your operating system. So you list all of them there. Okay, and if you want complete suite, you can download this too. Like it is size, this size is 42.5. So these are the different utilities that you can think of. You can really see this. My suggestion would be like these are the kind of utilities which are mostly used by system programmers. Okay, when they are working with Windows OS. And what are the utilities that I showed you from the session perspective with respect to say PS or even obj dump. Okay, then we saw make and so on. So they all are really part of this sysinternals. Okay, from Linux perspective. So on Linux perspective, we do call it as tool chain, GNU tool chain, compiler tool chain. Okay. So see these all utilities. Try to make use of them if provided you have Windows available on your machine. Okay, if you want you don't have, you can try the similar kind of utilities which I tried showing you on my machine. Okay, on Linux machine. Right. Okay, so in next session we'll be talking more about linker again. Okay, where we would be addressing importance of what exactly linker is supposed to do. We will try to see what happens when we say program is loaded. What happens when we talk about relocation in detailed manner, even symbol resolution. Like when we said we want to find a function called power. So it responded that undefined function POW. Then symbol was not resolved. So this was seemed to be the forward reference, which was not resolved yet. So it is kind of incomplete instruction for us. It is to be resolved. So at the linking time, this would be getting resolved. Right? So this symbol resolution would be terminology used mainly by the linker perspective. Fine. So we'll be talking about that part in the next session. Fine. So if you have any questions, rather my suggestion would be try to start reading that linker loader book. Okay, I assume I already gave you the link. If I haven't, I'm adding again back the link for you peoples in the, sorry. Yeah, so you can go to this link and download it. Correct. See that book, particular book. It is